I am unable to leave my damn office. I guess I should begin by giving some context about my current predicament. Hello, I'm Ezra, and I can't leave my office. I also cannot post this using anything that resembles my real name, or else the browser closes and I lose everything. Had I written this any earlier, it would probably have been filled with heat and emotion, and I'd probably have added the word fucking before nearly every noun. But now that it's been almost 4 years, I figured I can finally describe what's happening and what led up to this objectively. I work from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. at a large mixed corporate center. I'm in the communications department, meaning that I make sure that messages get delivered in a way that the recipients can understand, ranging from PowerPoint presentations to infographic reports. The job is simple enough, and the workload is not hard to handle. Our corporate complex has 3 buildings and nearly everything an employee would need inside, like restaurants, a gym, a newspaper stand. There's very little reason to go outside during work hours, except maybe if you want to eat something different for lunch. When I first got this job, I was 22 years old and near the end of my college journey, needing an internship to fill up a mandatory quota of work hours that the university required. When the call came to confirm that I got chosen, it felt like I'd won the jackpot. Good pay, flexible work hours, nice coworkers, and all this infrastructure at my disposal. Sign me the hell up. First few months were a blast. I was finally earning enough money to buy not only the things I needed, but the things I wanted. I barely saw my abusive mother due to our conflicting work schedules, and it only got better when she moved in with her boyfriend and his kid, since I now had a very large apartment all to myself and my 2 cats. It got a little hard to handle after a while, so I did some redecorating and reorganizing, and invited a close friend to live with me for a much more affordable price than her current place. After some getting used to the house, we thrived. We bought game consoles, got an awesome table for tabletop and RPGs, our fridge was always full, and we could afford godly internet. I always tear up when I try to write this part, because I miss all of it like you wouldn't believe. I always try not to linger on it too much, but I can't help it. I was finally looking forward to going home from work. Now, contrary to what you might think, the point where I turned to the worst had nothing to do with my friend, my girlfriend, or even my mother. It happened when I stopped going home from work. Now, that sounds pretty confusing. Trust me, I still don't quite know how it works myself, but I'll try my best to explain my experience from the start up to now. On a Friday evening like no other, I found myself lost in thoughts, just looking out the office window and debating whether I should call an Uber to get home. It was raining, and even though the polycarbonate coating the glass made the water slide down effortlessly, the heavy downpour made it hard to see too far out. I began putting my stuff away, clocked out, and while waiting for the elevator, tried to come up with an interesting adventure hook for the D&D adventure I was spending later in the night. When the door opened, I entered, and it all faded to black. I woke up to the shaking of a coworker, who looked at my groggy face and chuckled, offering to get me a coffee when I went down to the ground floor. I yawned, finding a pounding migraine, and stretched. It was at that time that an incredibly intense pain ran through my joints and back, which made me lose my breath and fall to my knees, which were also in incredible pain. My coworker looked very worried and asked me if I had pulled something on my back. I couldn't answer. He helped me to my feet and I caught my breath, carefully stretching and waiting for the pain to subside, which it did after a short while. Made my way to the lockers, took my stuff, swiped my card. Then I just stood there, in silent realization, holding my card for what seemed like a really long time. Silently, I tried to understand what had just happened while my hands worked their magic, and I autopiloted through checking my email and logging into our link server. I instinctively reached for my phone, grumbled as it was out of batteries, and plugged in the charger. Walking to the bathroom, I noticed I was a mess. My shoulder-length hair was all over the place, my face looked like I was a hungover goblin, and there was some weird black dirt stains my clothes and body. My face lit up quickly as I noticed everyone had seen me like this, but no one had bothered to tell me. I fixed myself up and sat back down, now coming to terms with the theory that I had just gone stupidly drunk over the weekend, and that's why I was so confused. However, I could still not figure out what in the hell I had drank to make me forget 3 whole days, and if I really had been that drunk. There absolutely would be pictures, the sort of embarrassing shots that my friends would save up for years just to show my kids how I partied. Instinctively, I grabbed my phone again, only to realize that it hadn't been charging. It would even flash the screen when I tried to turn it on. I tried every damn electrical outlet I could and borrowed chargers, until I finally admitted that the damn thing was broken, that I had likely dropped it in water and just dried it like that fix it. Since dwelling on stupid drunk mistakes would lightly invite a migraine, I began my workday as usual, avoiding interactions with people. I had lunch at the usual place, checking my bank account at the usual place, and went through the day just wanting it to be over so I could go home and get some answers. I finally clocked out, waited for the elevator, entered it, and as the door closed, I noticed that the monitor that usually cycled through world news and company images was just white. I found it really weird, but I shrugged it off and walked out of the elevator. To the left, got a cup of water, and stopped just short of swiping my card. Now, in my mind was a vivid image of the word no in the most bombastic font possible, which was an accurate graphical representation of the sheer dread that ran down my spine. I remember the time when I had hit a salvia de norm, which basically locked me in time, particularly in the space of a verse from the song Feel Good Inc. I could get up from the couch and walk to the other side of the house, but when the verse ended, I'd be right back with the bong in my mouth like nothing had ever happened. Darting into the accessibility toilet, which was pretty much the only place where I could actually be alone, I tried to avoid having a panic attack. A lot of people talk about experiences that only happened in their heads, but they always deal with it in the smoothest way possible, snapping out of it quickly or even playing with their subconscious. Didn't happen to me. My mind immediately started worrying that I had gone insane, that I was hallucinating in the streets. Everything I thought of was dangerous, and it just snowballed me until my pressure dropped and I nearly fainted. It took everything I had and more for me to get out of that bathroom, but I did. Convinced that none of what was happening was real, determined to wait it out. And obviously, since you're reading this, waiting it out hasn't worked, and I kept on panicking for about 5 days. I cooled off after that, and although sometimes I still spike up with anger and anguish, it doesn't last long. During the following weeks, I discovered that the company internet is fully functional, albeit blocking certain websites as it always has. There's also the stupid name filter I mentioned at the start. I can connect to some outside servers like Steam, but not IMs like Discord. It only works while wired, thus I can only use the internet at all while at my station. Some other things of note are that I cannot access the 7 highest floors, the garage or the ground floor. Outside of those, I can navigate freely and use the complex's services with no issue. People act like they normally would, but can never recall anything that I say about the fact that I can't leave, nor the numerous times I have ran around without hope, tried to throw myself out the window, or had sex with them. I'm absolutely certain I saw some new people appear every so often, but can only ever catch a glimpse of them in the elevators before they close. They always have this weird expression of discomfort in their faces. At this point, I have mostly conformed with my condition. I spent my days reading ebooks, watching YouTube videos, just accumulating as much knowledge as I can. I've always loved learning, so it's the way I've chosen to cope with the fact that I am stuck here, away from my friends, away from my family, away from my future, my goals, my fucking dreams, just stuck here. in this dreadful office where everything is the same. Even if I'm able to learn, it's not enough. It's still fucking torture. I want my life back. Please help me. I have all the time in the world.